So, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to start off our panel session this afternoon entitled Leveraging Industry, a Critical Partnership. Industry plays a crucial role in supporting the development of the DoD cyber workforce. By working closely with industry, the department can leverage the expertise, resources, and innovation of the private sector to build a more effective and resilient cyber workforce. Our panel moderator is Mr. Matt Isnor. He's our program lead for cyber workforce development in the DoD CIO. Matt, you didn't tell me you had a fan club. I like it. Matt is an expert in the federal cyber workforce, leading the DoD's initiative to standardize the DoD cyberspace workforce, and is responsible for implementing a comprehensive cyber workforce qualification program, which I think you all know him for. So please join me today in welcoming Matt and our industry panelists to the stage. Over to you, Matt.
Please. All right, perfect. I had to go with a little joke up front. You saw a bunch of stars earlier on all the speakers. I have my entourage, so that makes me important. Yes. I will definitely get into the panel and all of the wonderfulness that they do, but I wanted to take the initial time to first thank all of our hosts from NDU and all the areas and everything they do to help us kind of put this on. Also to Ms. Star Hardison for doing the wonderful moderating this today. She is a wizard in this. So, and also the AFCEA team, Lieutenant General Susan Lawrence, and everything they've put together. When we started putting this idea together, we went to her and Mr. Paul to really kind of see if we could do and have this partnership. And they said, of course. So couldn't imagine anything going on without this. So I appreciate all the help there. And then lastly, the team that's hiding in the back over here and all of our CIO, Alfredo and his team, have done a wonderful job helping us put all of this, ushering the individuals in and out and getting all the things together. So just a round of applause for them. They're phenomenal for everything they do. So I wanted to take the time. I want to first correct some of the language. I apologize. The panel here is made up of esteemed individuals. If you haven't met them, please go to their sessions and their booths out front. But they each kind of represent something inside of 8140. They each represent something in the qualifications, the areas of focus inside of that. And I want to correct the title. It is Leveraging Industry and Academia, because Miss Susan Hamilton is right here. Or sorry, Sharon. I was looking. Sorry, I apologize. I was looking at. Sorry, I know there was an S involved. So she represents the senior military colleges and all the CAEs that they do. So we couldn't be without all of the academic partners out there, and a lot of them in this area. So I appreciate all of that. So one thing that I want to be able to do is kind of explore the discussion today, 8140, DCWF, and all of the things that we ultimately do to kind of highlight what a lot of the speakers have talked about today, the most important asset in the department, our people. We've kind of highlighted cyber warriors, but at the end of the day, it's about putting the investment in them. You can have the best tools, you can have the best platforms, the best infrastructures in the world, but if you don't have people that are qualified to do it, you're not going to be successful. So that's where we have to kind of come together and start kind of training them, qualifying them, making sure that they have all of the requisite knowledge base and skill based to be successful in their mission, and look at various areas, not just starting them walking in the front door and getting the content, but looking at K through 12, looking at academia to make sure we have that next evolution of individuals coming in. But I also want to take a moment quickly to emphasize kind of the distinct nature of 8140. As everyone when they talk to me out here. It is kind of the building blocks on top of what 8570 was. 8570 focused on the baseline foundations. 8140 takes it a step further. It talks about the talent management aspect of our people. It really starts looking at the various standards and the nature of developing our cyber professionals across the environment, making sure that they are set up for success and walking them down to be able to be the fullest potential that they possibly can be. Giving them all the areas that we ultimately do. Individuals look at 8140, we're in the kind of the implementation stage of phase one right now. You look at the baseline foundations, you look at all the certifications, the training, the education, and everything we have, but we need to take it a step further. We need to set them up for continuous development, looking at ranges, looking at environments, how we can put them in place to get them the skill sets that they need to be successful in the environment, and then defend against the adversaries. So I really wanted to be able to understand and make sure that, 8140 is here for the operational entity. It's all about operational readiness. When you look at the three tiers of readiness: personnel, training, equipment, 8140 touches on all those. It touches and gives the individuals doing that the capability. And what better way to inform where we have gaps, where we have areas that we need to kind of improve, than be able to identify the workforce and show our senior leaders and show all of our individuals in the environment where the capabilities are, how closely our people have at the end of the day, what capability they have. So we need to be able to kind of facilitate that, take those resources up to our senior leaders to advocate for our people. So with that, I'm going to move into the most important aspect, not listening to me talk, I'm just a moderator, but listening to our esteemed colleagues over here. They are the main reason that we're here to engage in the discussion. They are the ones that help us in the department advocate and provide our individuals the training, the education, the range environments to be successful. So I want to make sure that we kind of give them the time to talk about all the areas that we need to inside the environment. So first, to the left, I will introduce each one of them, give them a little bit of an introduction, but then I'll kind of walk through the pathway. So first, Mr. Brian Correia. He's the Director of Business Development at the SANS Institute. The SANS Institute is the leading empowering cybersecurity professional with training degrees and community resources. So, little clapping for him. To his esteemed left is Miss Bree Frost, is the Director of Security Curriculum and Research at Pluralsight and has been instrumental in developing cutting-edge cybersecurity curriculum and content strategy. Right next to her is, thank you. Can I just go Dr. S. Hamilton? She is the Vice President of Strategic Partnerships at Norwich University, a senior military college advocate. Dr. Hamilton is a retired Army colonel, not an Air Force, yes, is a leading voice in the field of cybersecurity education and a champion in fostering partnerships between academia, government, and industry. And right next to her is Mr. Dan Magnotta. I wanted to make sure I was pronouncing it correctly, so I had to do it the Italian, with the Italian accent. He is a federal business development manager at Hack the Box and has a blend of military, cybersecurity, and private industry expertise. Yes. And not last but not least, Ms. Tara Dean. She is a senior accountant director at CompTIA. She is responsible for managing CompTIA's relationships across the federal government agencies and federal contractors and educating these key organizations about CompTIA's product and services. So with that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start walking through some of the questions, getting their insight. I'll kind of point to one of them, and then they'll all have kind of insight into that area, trying to give their scripted. If we have enough time at the end, we'll make sure we get tons of questions and see what insights are in your minds. So first, what I'm going to get is one of the key benefits. If you could discuss 1 to 2 critical benefits that the industry currently provides to the department in accordance with DCWF, 8140, and various professional development areas. I will start with Dan.
we go. All right, first and foremost, all of us up here are content creators. Right? So we all work together, we all have strengths and weaknesses, but when it comes down to it, we create content which saves the department time. Right? So we have very, very smart and technical individuals that are working the mission, but they don't have time to step away and learn the new vulnerabilities and create, in our situation, a virtual machine for them to practice on. So that's where we come in and we build that content and support. So number one thing that I see across this entire panel and our other partners that are here as well is content, speed of content and time.
All right, next, Sharon, would you like from the academic perspective?
Sure, Mark. Oh, Matt.
Oh, thanks. Very good. Nice. Hey, trust me, it's a better name.
Got a little more power behind it.
Yes, a lot more.
So what do we do? So I'm up here representing the Senior Military College Cyber Institutes for Department of Defense. And what do? We spark interest in our students to pursue DoD cyber careers. And we do that by providing opportunities, but our focus is on experiences. How can we provide funded experiences relevant to DoD to help better prepare them to show up on your door day one and have some amazing certifications, but actually have experiences to have built competencies, that ability for our students to actually demonstrate that they can complete tasks, they possess skills in the context of the 8140 work roles. So what we do, I think second most important, is help our faculty and our students understand what the opportunities are for civilians and military in DoD, where otherwise they really wouldn't know.
All right. Anybody else like to Bree?
Yeah, I can add to that. I think the DCWF as a whole gives us a baseline to agree on all the roles and responsibilities that sit within a cyber workforce. So us as training providers, we may all have a different definition of what this particular work role does and what their tasks should accomplish, but having that baseline allows us to start with training and then be able to escalate and evolve that training to provide like operational readiness, not just, an exam or a question or something that is theoretical knowledge, but actual real world scenarios, knowing how to advance you within your work role.
Awesome. And either one of our cert providers?
I'll go, Brian. Sorry. I'm going to do like the earlier. I have to go lower. Sorry. We're CompTIA, so I think most people in here probably know what we do, certifications. But I think the thing about certifications or, that we kind of bring is kind of that portability and being agile. So, you might be doing one job, one place, and that certification is kind of prepared you there, but that certification could prepare you for a breadth. So across what we were talking about with that framework, we kind of bring that portability. And honestly, when they go to leave their time and go to, private, it's also portable there. And that's where we're seeing that. And I think the other thing is, and I think we all kind of bring this to the table, is staying ahead of the technology or at the cutting edge of it so that we're not, as it was said earlier, if you are looking at that today, that was something that happened yesterday and it's too late. And that's kind of the same thing. We're looking at what's coming and then preparing to get there.
Perfect.
So I have the challenge of being the last one. So, of course, we already got all this great advice. I would say one thing that we all bring to the table is what I would call practitioners in the real world and applying that over. And so being able to take what is out there in the different jobs, the different work roles in the DCWF, and being able to have some of the top people kind of help build that together and making sure it's something that could be useful as we build like the next generation as we keep going along.
No, I appreciate that. I mean, that's all good insight into the areas that we need to kind of partner with our industry. They are, as kind of the next question gets into, is they're the ones that talk to our stakeholders a lot more than we do. They're the ones that are actually engaging with our operational individuals, listening to their requirements, kind of walking them through the pathway. So that kind of leads into the next question of, can you discuss how industry and the department could streamline best practices in support of the cyber workforce? And I will give that to Sharon to start.
Matt, could I have my slide, please?
Oh, yes, please. Here it comes. Watch.
Don't let that good Army training go to waste, so you have to have a PowerPoint. And while he's bringing it up, so like a good panelist, he's going to ask a question. I'm going to answer the one that I want to.
Okay.
And
That's how it works.
so what do? So if we want to start hacking away at the challenge with workforce in DoD, we have to first get the word out on what DoD is hiring, right? And we've done that in a lot of different ways and very spread out. But in 2019, my buddy there, Rags, myself and a friend at the time up at Norwich, figured that we already had the pieces in place. The senior military colleges are represented up on the right there. And if we could join forces with private military colleges, something as big as Texas A&M on the other end and everything in between, that have a focus on national service and doing something more than yourself, and then empowering them through incentives and opportunities and experience to see what's happening in the DoD cyber world, that can have results. And so what we provide, and what hopefully we'll provide to more schools, is a framework. We provide the Cyber Leader Development Framework, and I think the biggest piece is the leader piece. Because we've talked a lot about the technical pieces, and you'll see them up there for all the experiences. I'd be glad to talk afterwards about these. But it's the leadership piece. It's helping them be employable, right? It's helping them have those human skills that they can work on a team, bring their technical expertise, and the experiences that we give them, but be able to work on a team, be able to fail, be able to get back up, be able to communicate, because technical skills is one thing, but the reality of DoD is it's a team sport.
I totally agree. And kind of highlight, and Sharon kind of mentioned a little bit of the constant dialogue back and forth, the crucial aspect of things like soft skills, professional skills, areas that we need to start incorporated into our technical skills. And these providers do a wonderful job of being able to kind of implement that into their courseware. So that is a wonderful point. Brian, do you want to highlight some of your areas?
Yeah, I mean, so it's interesting. So we just did a workforce study. It hasn't come out yet. And it was interesting to see some of the things that popped up. For the first time, we saw when it came to, is it really, do we have enough staff or do we not have enough staff with the right skills? For the first time, we've actually seen it now change, where it's now finding enough staff with the right skills.
Right.
We're also seeing where certain things are changing a little bit, and we're seeing a little change in the air. So we used to always see of like work experience was always number one as far as what I was looking for when hiring. We're actually starting to see that change now, where, you know, like aptitude, now making sure, you know, culture fit, certain things like that. This was the first year. We were a little surprised to see like work experience that was always number one. It came in fourth this year. So it was interesting to see how you're seeing a little bit of a shift in the air, I think, in the cyber workforce.
Yep.
And some of that's DoD, some of that's corporate. But as you can imagine, even in the corporate world, very much is tied into DoD, right? And seeing how some of that. So you are, I believe we're seeing a little change in the air when it comes to the workforce.
Yep.
I mean, I think it's slow. It's not overnight, but you know, you are starting to see certain things that I think we've talked about for a while, and you're actually starting to see people now starting to implement that.
Yeah. No, Dan, would you?
Yeah. So I'm a little bit of a doctrinal nerd. So the Fulcrum IT advancement strategy that you guys wrote, line of effort 4, build that premier digital workforce, right? 4.2, continuing education. we have to have a culture shift within the DoD, right? We have to, as General Stanton mentioned earlier, we have to provide members of our workforce time to train. We have to give them that decompression window where they're not always on mission. So it's and take it one step further there. It's also a mental health play, right? So you have to give them these. I work with a lot of airmen, sailors. I'm in the Navy Reserve still, so I'm seeing it firsthand that we have to give that capability to allow them to continually learn and continually decompress. And right now we don't do that. We burn them out, and then they're looking for exit strategy somewhere. So as industry leaders in training, especially where I'm at Hack the Box, right? We want to gamify it. We want to make it fun. It's a different generation. I don't consider myself old, but my body hurts. But the younger generation, they want to play games. They're growing up on video games, right? So we have to look at them and look at that for solutions as well. But culture shift and culture change at the senior leadership level to provide training is a big key for me.
No, I totally agree. I mean, the new generation coming in has a different mindset, has a different focus, and we've got to kind of adapt to it to be able to make them learn and kind of use those skill sets, use those gamifications, as you mentioned, to make sure they're proficient in their area. Bree?
Yeah, to kind of just tack on to what Dan said is, I always say, like, cybersecurity is a battle, right, between us and the adversary, and those who train harder wins. So it's not just allowing the time to train, but it is increasing the quality of training, and I think that's what we're sitting here across the table attempting to do. I have had the pleasure, we'll say, of sitting through many military trainings that was not relevant. If they talked to me for 3 hours about the CIA triad, I checked out 2 hours and 50 minutes ago, right? And so we actually really need, and we're getting it from both angles. I see two ends of the spectrum. To kind of hit on what Paul Stanton said this morning, we've all said there's this talent pipeline problem, whether it's hiring, whether it's recruiting, whether it's interviewing and measuring someone's skill set. We've said for a long time, cybersecurity is a good industry to get in, a good role to jump into, but we're seeing people skip critical steps. We make the joke of people that are 20 years in cybersecurity fields don't know how DNS works. And those know who I'm talking about. Those of you that work in cybersecurity that still don't know what DNS works is a problem, or don't know how to do a basic Python script. We're skipping steps, moving into individual entry-level roles, and people get upset when I say cybersecurity is not entry level. There is a whole implied knowledge that you have to know to work in cybersecurity. And then you get the other end of the spectrum. If supply chain attacks isn't keeping you up at night, it should be. And if we're not teaching, I think you heard it from our first three speakers, offensive cyber operations and offensive cyber skills for all roles across the board, then we're behind the ball. So it's kind of, I would love to partner and see where are those skills that needed and where are we increasing our training for those areas.
Yep. Tara?
So I think we're going to go back to the topic that was the question, which was around more like this,
Come all circle.
which is kind of tying through all of this. It's really the open collaboration and conversation. It's the sharing of the direction, of where you're going. It is, when we develop everything at our organization, and I think probably across the board, you're bringing in subject matter experts. Well, we should be having subject matter experts from within the defense. We've done that. In fact, most of our certifications have subject matter experts that come in from defense. But that's it should be a collaboration together so that we might have the resources and the ability to get it out to market faster, but we're doing it in collaboration with those that are going to be implementing and digesting it and using it.
No, very good points. And that kind of leads into a little bit of the next question of discuss how industry partners are leading the way in developing the content, the opportunities to support the DoD cyber workforce. I'll start with Bree.
I think we're leading the way. I mean, this is a great start of, like she said, our collaboration, but identifying all the different learners, where their starting points of knowledge are, what their learning styles are, what their missions are. And I think we all bring something very different and specific and specialized to the table. And I think continuing on with all of those experiences, understanding that like we have a whole plethora of opportunities to learn, gamify, spark interest. When you like what you're learning about and continuous learning is critical to any role within cybersecurity, I think that's what's going to make the most difference.
No, totally agree. And that's one of those why I think this is a great panel. You see the different areas to be able to train, to upskill, get the knowledge base for your individuals. They all do it differently, but they all do it collaboratively. You can leverage all of this experience right here. And this is one of those things of knowing the new generation. Those individuals at the end of the day all learn differently. So they can apply various ways, and you just have to find as the leader the best way to teach them. So let's go to Dan.
So yeah, collaboration is definitely key, and I don't want to steal Chief Schaefer's brief later today, but all of us work together. We all have our strengths and our weaknesses. A great Air Force platform called Digital University does that as well. It takes multiple vendors, builds out training plans, and helps support the collaboration. So it's a collaboration tool there, but again, as Matt mentioned in the question, like content is king. So speed of content, having the expertise who understand the content to be able to build it rapidly and deploy it rapidly is where industry definitely helps in the training platform.
Awesome. I appreciate it. How about from the academic world?
So I think we're leading the way by working on cross-discipline initiatives. And that's where the DCWF has been great to talk about the cyber enablers. And so, that first section on the slide up there, sometimes it's a barrier when you talk to a student about cyber because they have a really specific or very non-specific, two ends of the spectrum, thought on it. And it's all of those apply. All of those you can work in the cyber field, in DoD or in industry, if you go after any of those. And I think the other way we lead the way is that we remove some barriers. It's hard to remember for some of us, it's very hard to remember when you were a student and you didn't have the $300 for a certification. And yet that was the thing that was keeping you from qualifying for the job. So removing the barriers, providing funding for practical opportunities. And so we lead the way with the Cyber Leader Development Program because we're not a scholarship program. They have to earn their money here. They have to do practical experiences, but there's no limit. So what certifications do you want to do? Well, first tell me what the work role is that you're interested in, and then we'll work from there. Right. Where do you want to do an internship in DoD? We'll help get you one there, and we'll fund it. So removing the barriers, because that shouldn't be the reason why we're not getting more people into the DoD cyber workforce. There are some very simple, low barriers, and if we can give them experience, they're going to get interested. If we get them to your door, they're going to want to work there.
Yep. No, totally agree. And that's, the individuals in cyber come from all walks of life, and they all learn different, back to the learning aspect. They can be in their, parents' basement hacking away, computing away, compared to the ones going through doctoral programs. They all bring something to the fight. We just have to be able to cultivate that. So, Tara?
So some of the things CompTIA, I will say, is probably down the road developing, looking at that kind of would be leading the way in developing kind of things that we would want. We are developing our essentials series of training that has to do around soft skill stuff. So there's going to be AI in there as well. We're looking at developing even some more specific stuff that builds above like a Security Plus, Pen Test, CYSA Plus, these types of certs, some security AI. So, what does it mean as a security professional then doing the job and those types of tools. And then one of the other big things we do is we work really closely with the K-12 market as well as the colleges and universities on ensuring that we're kind of attracting new people into as young as middle school, into high school programs. We work with a lot of defense ministries of defense around the world and have lots of conversations with them. They're all super interested in what we're doing here. And we've helped introduce, so it's more of that, like the open dialogue and collaboration and the direction of where we're getting kind of that feedback from everyone. So,
Brad?
So I was going to say, it's interesting with certifications. One thing that we've done over here at SANS is there's always been the complaint that sometimes certifications, and I know CompTIA has done a lot of really good work on this too, that we test on knowledge, but we don't test on skills. So we've developed lab-based testing where you could go into like a VMware box and there's no one answer. It's like literally you go through the exercise with the idea of like you're a pen tester. As you can imagine, a pen tester has multiple different ways to get to where they need to get to. So the idea is evolving over time, making sure that we're doing stuff along those lines. We do cyber ranges, things along those lines too, but the idea is always kind of keeping up with DoD. I mean, we love how it's divvied up on work roles. We actually offer over 50 certifications that are kind of divvied up onto different work roles that very much tie into what you do. But the idea is always evolving, listening to the market, knowing what to do with the market, and kind of building things that now better. I mean, I'll admit, building lab-based testing, it took us about 10 years and a lot of failed attempts to do it, and I believe to do it right. But it took a lot of money, but we knew it was really important to do. And so we just kept on trying, and we finally got there.
No, yeah, and those are all wonderful points, and I think this is a kind of good indication of the collaboration. These individuals can kind of, when we come up with new work roles, new knowledge and skills, we implement that, as General Hawk mentioned up here, how the ever-changing environment might flip month by month. We need to be agile, flexible, and responsive. I get a buzz term if every time I mention those three words. We need to be able to kind of communicate that, and these individuals and their wonderful groups are able to help us do that. They'll be able to kind of implement into their curriculum and their content and be able to get our individuals back up to speed, back into the mission, back into the fight, and then defending our network. So extremely grateful for all that collaboration. The next one is kind of a broader discussion for each one of you in your organization. What will be the key industry focus for the remainder of 2025 for your organizations? And I will start with Tara this time.
I asked him not to start with me.
I had to do it once.
Hold on. I've been told I don't have the microphone close enough, so sorry about that. So CompTIA's focus, well, I mean, there's been a lot of change happening at CompTIA this year. If you haven't seen the news, we just got acquired in January, so the dust is settling, and our focus in terms of product stuff is really around our essentials and our AI product, and then we are evaluating where the next steps are outside of that. So we are looking at more of the testing that is kind of the proving what you know. We have some of that obviously in our exams, but our big focus has been specifically around kind of the broader, not just for somebody working in IT, but broader business skill with our essential stuff, and then also the AI. That's our focus.
Perfect. I'll just keep going right down. Dan.
So at Hack the Box this year, we'll start with what happened last week. So ANAB, we completed our first ANAB certificate program. So we are now a certificate issuer. So, and that was a huge lift, and that's all for Matt and team. And now we're going through the 8140 process through the marketplace. So that's for our defensive operations analyst certificate, or I even get it wrong all the time. So certification. And our focus is really our core mission. So we a company that was built from hackers, and now we're really focusing on the cybersecurity areas. So the cybersecurity domain and the cyber effects domain is where we'll be focusing for 8140. And then more importantly, we're really hoping and hoping and helping in skills-based hiring methodology. So that's where we're going to get to, and really, again, to continue the gamification, continue pumping out content in a relevant manner, and just keep doing what we're good at.
Perfect.
Thanks.
Sharon?
So the first thing we're going to focus on is continuing the great partnerships that we have with everybody up here, because our 6 senior military colleges work with all of the partners up here. In 2025, academic year or fiscal year, I don't know.
Calendar year.
Yeah, research. So our students are required to do research on DoD problems. I need those problems from you who are in DoD organizations, unclassified, okay? Because what we do each year is we have a research conference, and undergraduates do amazing research. They can help, right? They want to help, and they want to do something relevant. They don't want a made-up problem. So they want to do research on a real problem. So at Virginia Military Institute in April, we get the students together who have been selected to present their research, and they get to stand up in a conference setting. And we were hoping for a lot of DoD representatives there, but I'm not sure how that's going to work out this year, just based on some of the travel. But it's an amazing opportunity. So research is one. The next in the loop is internships. DoD internships. So all of our students who are in our Cyber Leader Development Program have to do 2 DoD internships. They have to apply in USA Jobs. That's a great experience. But then they also have the opportunity to take part in one of the over this year 105 internships that we've set up in our program with DoD organizations that we can help fund, because that's the use of our money. Take away the barrier, get them into DoD. So we worked with a lot of great DoD organizations, and we'll send the students and we'll fully fund them because we want them to have the experience. I'd say just the last thing is the summer outreach. We talked about that. We do outreach all year. Students in high school and junior high want to see college students. They don't want to see me.
Yeah.
And they want to know what's out there and what are the possibilities. And no one's better than an energized, informed student to go out and do outreach. And so we host summer camps in the summer. We fully fund them on electronic warfare, on cyber, on information warfare. And in some of those camps, we bring in military organizations. So we get soldiers and high school students together. And that's fun and that's exciting. And if you want to spark interest, you do the outreach. And so we do that a lot.
Totally agree. Bree?
Thank you. Do I get a gold star if I say 8140?
Oh, always. I will buy you a drink later.
Really, we have been working on curating our training paths for the 8140 initiative and all of the cybersecurity work roles that really just embeds kind of that knowledge of more efficient training and being able to identify really quickly within a self-assessment your skill gaps and your skill strengths, and really making the most efficient time of busy cybersecurity professionals that are using the most to train. Selfishly, outside of the 8140, we're building a lot more advanced training at Pluralsight, adversary emulation, OT security and ICS security, supply chain, like I mentioned, and then kind of critical vulnerabilities that are popping. My team of researchers are having content out within a 48-hour turnaround to really make sure we're getting up in front of those critical, vulnerabilities and making sure we can mitigate them as soon as possible.
Last but not least, Brian?
All right. So over here at SANS, one of the things that's a little bit of a secret, we do these free summits all the time. And that's actually how we find some of the best content that we can have out there. So for example, we have a free summit next week on AI. So we're always looking, and I'll admit, so I'll use the term 8140. We're always looking to see
There you go.
where you guys are going. Clearly you are a huge client of ours, and so we always want to make sure that we're meeting the needs. But over here at SANS, ICS OT is something that's very big. It's something we've been big, but you're going to actually see quite a bit more new course, especially as that's kind of entered real time, kind of real. It's funny because we've talked about ICS and it feels like now it's prime time finally.
Yeah.
So, some of that type of stuff. Purple team's something that's really big over here. Forensics, we do a lot of red team, blue team. Where you're actually going to see a little bit more is a purple team. So in between. So we actually have built curriculums around all of that stuff. We do leadership. I do have to throw one thing in, which is, I don't know if most people know, we're actually an accredited institution also. We also have a master's program. We're just accredited like any other institution. So what you do is you actually get certifications as you go through the program. Ours is built in some ways for people that are already well established in cybersecurity, looking to get either a master's, undergraduate, or a graduate certificate.
Perfect. Thank you. So that ends the questions that I have because I know we only have about 5 minutes left. So I wanted to make sure we left enough time for a couple questions. And I didn't know if any individuals wanted to come up. Oh, no. You can come. Sure.
Even outside the military, we learn to follow the rules too. Hi, I'm Laura with Cyberstar. Thank you all so much for the perspectives. I really appreciate it. And I think we've heard a lot about how all of you bring unique perspectives and insights and different things to partnerships. And there's a lot of intuitive sense in working together, whether that's with the DoD, the Workforce Innovation Directorate team, CompTIA, Pluralsight, or the qualifications tracker like Cyberstar. So in your mind, what it makes sense to do it, but as practitioners, right, there's always obstacles standing in front of maintaining, and scaling up these partnerships. And so, if there's anything in your mind that, hey, these are the challenges to establishing those partnerships in the first time and growing them, what are those and how do we work around them?
Common ground first, right? We're all trying to solve similar problems, but getting us in a room like this is moderately interesting. We're really interesting. But it's the breaks, and it's the partnership, and it's getting that first discussion on, oh, you're working on this? I'm working on that too, from an entirely different perspective. And so the partnerships is huge, but for us, it's always remembering who we're working for, right? We want our students to work for Department of Defense. So we really have to engage, and we need to make sure we understand what they want, what they need. We're not just doing this for our own edification. We're doing this to fill a national need. And the more we understand that, the more we're able to talk to our students on why this matters. Why do you want to make this very hard choice and go into Department of Defense? It's because you understand what the mission is and what you can contribute to it. So I think it's just that first initial common ground.
Right, Dan?
I'll take one quick stab at this. I always joke, we're all frenemies, right? So here in industry, we're all frenemies. We all have something else. So I'll give a great example. Persistent cyber training environment over at U.S. Cyber Command. There's a new PCT marketplace. So myself, OffSec, who's also in the room, and Immersive, we're all legitimately 100% competitors. No one's going to tell you anything differently. But Adam and I have a phenomenal relationship. We talk through all different types of things to solve the DoD national security problem. So we put those differences aside and we do become frenemies, right? And we do solve that. So that's one of the big takeaways that I like to share, is that collaboration is key for the nation.
I think just
Oh, go ahead.
I think just to add to that real quick is identifying the key players in the space of who you're trying to partner with. But a lot of times we have all these great ideas and we come with all these great proposals, and the decision maker hasn't been identified. Like, who's making the decision? Who has the money? Who's got it, right? Who's making this decision for all of the DoD? I always just say Matt Isnor. So,
Down there.
but that's
Not
kind
me.
of where I would
Down
go.
here. Over here. No, I definitely not me. I'm leaving later, so do not cut. No, please. No, and I know we're out of time, and I quickly just wanted to advocate is these individuals do a wonderful job in discussions and topics. The department is a massive entity. We've got hundreds of thousands of individuals, not only in cybersecurity, AI, data, software, blah, 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 all of the technology areas, digital areas. So, no, that's not another T-shirt. So there is, as General Hawk and General Stanton earlier talked about, is continuous learning. 8140 just touches on the initial stage of what we're doing. There is going to be nonstop training that has to happen over the life or enduring time. So these providers, as I mentioned about being able to quickly turn on training and ranges and certifications and things to meet your demand signals is key. Coming to these environments, talking to them, telling them what the small entities or various training gaps you have is very, very key for them to understand it. They probably already have solutions. So just open communication, constant collaboration. I will. These are wonderful individuals. They all have wonderful end states, but there's tons of these types of certifications, training, academia, range environments that can help you with these solutions. So please, when you're done, go down to the atrium. Talk to all the ones that are here. Go off to the wonderful TechNet, AFCIA events. They have wonderful vendors down in the big areas. So please talk to them and communicate in your training gaps. So I will stop there. Star is going to run me off the stage.